Kevin Durant is here. He can do things that even though Jalen Green can do it, you can get him more of a consistent basis with Durant playing there.
Greetings and salutations, and welcome to the Odd Coaches Podcast, the authentic voice in sports leadership. I am your host, Dr. Keith Adams, and on today's Wind Up Wednesday episode, NBA preseason predictions. We're just giving you some stuff to talk about, folks. Don't get crazy on us. Segment 2, the reality of NIL and the transfer portal, and in segment 3, the impact of injuries in the WNBA as we get going. With us today, our favorite administrator, Robert Abney, and the one who got away from me, Danny Thompson's with us. So, Danny, I'm going to start with you. In your humble opinion, who you think are the players we should follow for NBA MVP this upcoming season?
Well, first player that comes to mind is Kevin Durant. Everyone has been saying it for the longest time. Houston was one player away. That's all the talk I heard from NBA media for the entire summer. Houston was one player away. They needed a go-to guy. Well, you got one. Kevin Durant is here. He can do things that even though Jalen Green can do it, you can get him more of a consistent basis with Durant playing there. Besides Durant, the only other player I can think of, the obvious ones is Nikola Jokic, and I think depending on where Giannis goes, I think this is a bounce back year for Giannis into the MVP race.
All right. Robert, I know you disdain preseason conversations like this. In your eyes, who should we look out for as we prepare for next season in terms of MVP?
Well, the usual suspects. You're going to watch for, but we don't. I really don't like these because we don't know what's going to happen. We don't. Jokic might decide that he's just tired and he wants to stay home and play with his horses. He's not going to do that, but it could happen. And injuries happen and teams go bad. And who should win it? Either Jokic or Luka or SGA. Should be one of those three. But we don't know what's going to happen. And it's also going to depend what do their teams look like. Jokic isn't winning the MVP if the Nuggets are 42-42. Let's be honest with that, right? Luka is not going to win the MVP if the Lakers don't make the play-in, because that's how people's brains are wired to work anymore.
Yeah, I can't tell you who's going to win. I can only tell you who's not going to win. Luka is not going to win this thing, because there's one thing, and Danny can tell you about getting into shape. It's another whole game about staying in shape, staying engaged, and 82 games is a very long time. Not that he's going to play 82. We hope they get to 65. So,
Look,
go ahead, Danny.
I could speak to that wholeheartedly. I remember waking up early in the morning just to go get a lift in, and then trying to find time in the day just to get a run in, just to get my cardio on. So if Luka can find a way to maintain that during the season, I'm not saying he's playing a full 82 games, but if he can at least get to 65, maybe 70, and I'm being generous, just say 70, he could possibly put his name in the hat. But I'm also with Robert. As a proponent of the person who hates the preseason polls in college basketball, just to talk of this it's good to talk about, but it's also like you don't know what you're going to get, because, again, there are too many factors to look into. You got injuries to think about. Again, we're talking about if a player is going to stay in shape, because we know he has been a proponent of not being in the best of shape when the season rolls around, which is insane, seeing who his teammate is, who the rumor mill for years is he spends $1 million on his body to stay in shape. So that does not seem feasible to me, that a player cannot stay in shape when your teammate is one of the most in shape athletes of our generation.
Yeah.
So that just doesn't make sense to me, but that's where we are. So if he can find a way just to give me 70, just give me 70 games. That's all I ask. if you give me 7 and he puts up the numbers he put up last year, and the Lakers are in the same spot they were last year, he could win his first MVP this year. I don't know, but I'm not putting his name in the hat because, again, our usual suspects are still Nikola Jokic and Shea at this point.
All right. So, Danny, I'm going to stay with you. In terms of, go ahead, Robert.
No, I just think that, I mean, a lot of that is true. And you know, a lot of this also depends on what do the support, like you just said, Danny, what do the supporting cast look like? What do the supporting cast look like? You know, because we've talked multiple times about the Lakers. How are they going to guard anybody? You know, and when you've got Luka and then your second best player is LeBron, not that LeBron's not a great player, but there's a lot of miles on those tires. And like you said, people aren't going to be playing they're not going to be playing every night. You're not going to have 82 game guys. I'm really curious to see at some point if there's not a conversation. I don't know if it's in the CBA or what the Players Association and the owners do to try to minimize these back-to-backs, minimize the 4 games in 6 days. Because when they schedule that, they're not doing it for any other reason other than TV. That's it. Because the season is so long, you can't tell me that you can't figure out how to play your 82 games if you have to play that many. You can't tell me there's no way to not schedule them where you don't have it all jammed up together like that. You can't tell me that.
All right. So, Danny, in terms of the rookie of the year, this is the category I like. Which rookies are you looking forward to watching just play? Hey, I want to see this kid play. What are you thinking about that?
Well, let's take Cooper Flag out the picture. We know what we're getting from him. I'm interested in seeing what Dylan Harper does. Dylan Harper, being the Spurs fan that I am, I saw him play for Rutgers last season. I kept saying to myself, it is going to be a steal seeing to where he goes and who he's going to be teamed up with. Lo and behold, he goes to San Antonio and he is teamed up with that 7'4" or 7'3" phenom out of France, who is always going to be in line for Defensive Player of the Year. You have probably the youngest core in the league now with Castle, Harper, and Wembanyama in your lineup. And I don't see how the Spurs don't make a jump if Dylan Harper plays like I know he can. If he's not up to that standard, then we expect the Spurs to be where they are. But he's the first thing that came to my mind off the rip. And then I want to see what VJ Edgecombe does. I want to know how he plays alongside Maxey. Who's going to get majority of the reps? Are you going to move Maxey to the 2? Are you going to move Edgecombe to the 2? Are you going to play a small ball lineup? We don't know. But watching him play over the summer in a couple games, he really piqued my interest. But those are the 2 guys that take my mind. Now, you would think I would say a post player. No post player has caught my eye this summer, so I can't say anything. So those are the first 2 guys that came to mind.
All right, Robert. Any rookie that's going to catch your eye? Because I do like seeing guys develop.
You know, I kind of felt like Con Knipple, who went to Charlotte. I kind of felt like he would have benefited staying another year. But he decided to come out, and I mean, I'm going to be interested to see what he does, because I think he spent a lot of his year at Duke deferring to Cooper Flag. And I'm going to be interested because he's going to be depended on to be a lot more than he was at Duke, to be honest. So let's see what comes out. I also, you know, just to follow up on Danny's point, I think the Spurs are going to be probably, for me, the most interesting team in the West to watch, just because of those 3 young guys who are all very talented, and they're also very young. And, you know, Wembanyama already had the blood clot issue. And so that's going to be interesting for me, I think.
Yeah. For me, it's Ace Bailey. because of all the noise that happened, and now he's in Utah. And at the end of the day, you were gonna play no matter where you went. So I want to see if he still has a boo boo face once the season starts. So he's the one I'm looking at with that. And then finally, Coach of the Year. I'm coaching. It's called the Odd Coaches Podcast. Danny, is there any coach this year you're like, I wonder how he's going to scheme whatever his talent is? Any particular coach you're looking at as we head into the season?
Two names come to mind. How's Mike Brown going to follow up what Tibbs did in New York? That's the first thing that came to my mind. We saw what he did in Cleveland. We saw what he tried to do with the Lakers, and we saw him bring Sacramento out of the brink of the abyss to now we're saying Sacramento is now a team to talk about in the West. What is he going to do with that team in New York? Because as we all know, Tibbs ran his guys through the ringer. He's done that with every team he's coached. Mike likes, if I'm going back to his days in Cleveland, Mike Brown liked to mix up everything. He didn't just depend on his thoroughbreds. Can he put a scheme and a lineup together that is going to cause havoc for teams in the East? Because if you ask me, the East is wide open. And if New York doesn't take advantage of it, then what in the blue hell was Mike Brown doing this entire season? That doesn't make sense to me. Halliburton's out, so Indiana is not the same. And Indiana lost Miles Turner. Boston has to try to depend on Jaylen Brown and maybe Derek White, but you have no Jason Tatum. He's done for the year. Orlando's on the come up, but this is still New York's to lose at this point. So I want to see how Mike Brown does. And then of course, what is Ime Udoka going to do? You lose a young thoroughbred in Jalen Green, but again, as we mentioned with the MVP conversation, you bring in Kevin Durant. You now have your go-to guy. We saw what you did in Boston when you had your go-to guy. Now you got one in Houston. Are you going to move Houston to the top of the West? Are they going to take steps back? I don't know. We'll see. But those two names, especially Mike Brown in New York, are the first two names that came to my mind. And I'm only bringing up New York because I know how much of a disdain you have for any talk of the Knicks at this point. But that's the first thing that came to my mind.
All right, Robert, anybody you're looking forward to saying, here's the talent I have. I wonder how they're going to scheme up this year.
Well, we know that the coach of the year is going to be whoever it is that the media perceives gets their team playing the best, right? So if the Knicks get the 1 seed, it's going to be Mike Brown. That's it. If Ime Udoka can get Houston a top 3 seed and not message any of his players' girlfriends, he's going to be in the running, right? Y'all know I'm right.
We know. I'm just. It's just wild to hear. It's different.
I mean, if the Spurs make the top 6, Mitch Johnson from the Spurs is going to win. So it really depends. I mean, that's what coaching is, right? Whoever can get their team to play the best, play together, and also catch the media's eye, because there's that piece of it.
Yeah. For me, it's Quinn Snyder in Atlanta because they gave him more talent, and they keep telling me that Trae Young is good. And this is a conversation. This is about winning games and winning titles. Are you an 82 game team or are you a 16 win team? That's it. So Quinn Snyder, he's got Kristoff now. Trae Young's in a contract year. You got my man Mike Bray sitting on the sideline. Shout out to DeMatha. So, okay. And the East is wide open, as we all agree. So I'm kind of curious to see if Atlanta can get off to a hot start and possibly win the Emirates NBA Cup to propel their team to some early season success. Not that anybody is caring about the Emirates NBA Cup. All right, so fans, when we get back in segment 2, Real talk, NIL, transfer portal. This is the time to kind of get you understanding of what's going on. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. Dr. Keith Adams here. And for over 30 years, I've dedicated my life to helping student athletes succeed, not just on the fields and the courts, but in the classroom and beyond. And that's why I founded the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project understands that finding the balance between academics and athletics is crucial for long-term success. That's why the CKA Save Project offers a range of programs, including personalized consulting, mentorship, and coming in 2027, our innovative Gap Year Basketball Academy designed to assist both young men and women reach their full potential both on and off the court. I'm incredibly excited to announce that the CK Save Project is now partnering with the Cascade Sports Network. This partnership will allow us the opportunity to amplify our message and reach even more student athletes through the Odd Coaches Podcast and other exciting initiatives. Join the CKA Save Project and the Cascade Sports Network as we empower the next generation of student athletes. Visit CKA on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org to learn more. Let's work together to find the balance and help unlock your potential. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 2. All right, the NCAA is weighing making athletes share high school and JUCO NIL deals. Let me break this down first. The NCAA is weighing a rule that will require incoming Division I student athletes to disclose name, image, and likeness deals from high school or junior college to the NIL Go clearinghouse established under the House settlement. Athletes will report all non-institutional deals dating from the first day of their junior year of high school. Junior college transfers will report deals that they made from the date of their initial enrollment into the two-year college. Robert, we're admin. You see this come across your desk. Is this an overreach or any reaction to that?
I think that in concept, it's not a bad idea. If you're looking to actually regulate NIL and track it, yeah, it makes sense. Is it an overreach? Of course, because the NCAA can't help themselves. And I don't know how exactly you're going to ensure that everything is effectively reported. I just that's the first thing that comes to my mind as soon as I see it. How are you tracking all of that? I mean, what is going to happen when, as we know will happen, you get a JUCO guy from, and I'm just throwing this out there because you get a JUCO guy from Western Texas College in Snyder, Texas. How do you know what NIL deals that guy signed in Snyder, Texas? Because do you know where Snyder, Texas is?
No.
I do, because I drive through there all the time. But Snyder, Texas is in the middle of nowhere, and nobody's paying attention to that. Nobody. So I don't know how you're going to effectively enforce a rule such as that.
Yeah. So Danny, I want to couch this to you a little differently. I did recruit Danny out of high school, and NIL compensation at the high school level has expanded. At least 40 states, let me say that again, fans, at least 40 states allow high school students to earn money off their celebrity status. Alabama, Michigan, and Ohio are among states that have strict restrictions, as does Texas, which prohibits athletes under 17 from pursuing deals. Danny, when we talk about this, what are your thoughts and reactions to the reality of NIL?
Well, at least from a high school player perspective, I think that varies from where you live and who is paying you. Because let's look at it from a high profile perspective. Let's throw a name out there. Let's say AZ Fudd had an NIL deal coming out of St. John's College High School in DC down the road, and she got a Nike deal. I understand that. What if she gets an NIL deal from a company who no one knows about in the area, and they're just there because they're just trying to put a face on it? I mean, I'm like, Robert, is it an overreach? Absolutely. I mean, because depending on where you live, there's no reason to really report where your NIL deal is coming from. Again, if it's a major brand, by all means, report it, collect it. That way, you have no issues when you come to the college, when you come to campus. Fine. But if you're, say, in the middle of nowhere, let's just say, for instance, I'm going to throw this out there because I live in PG County. Literally down the road on Route 4, and Coach, you can attest to this, that's Calvert County. What in everything is in Calvert County that can cause anyone to pay enough money for an athlete to put that face out there so that brand could come out there? I don't know any. Shoot, I'm hearing people, they were excited that they got a big chain grocery store to come to the county, but it's still in the middle of nowhere. So I don't know if this is feasible, if this is going to stand, because like you said, with states like Alabama, Ohio, and Texas having serious restrictions on it, I mean, who's to say any of these players are making any NIL deals just off the top? Because most NIL deals are coming to them when they get to college anyway. So what's the point? There isn't any. This just looks like this is just the NCAA just trying to put their hand in the cookie jar, but then you realize, no, you don't need to be in this. This has nothing to do with you. Still, they need to focus on regulating NIL at the college level than trying to steer its way to high school, which we already heard there are coaches who are not even recruiting players in high school to begin with. And that's a separate conversation in its own right.
Which is a great segue to our transfer portal conversation. So the high major jump is real, and mid majors are now adapting to a different area of the transfer portal. So here's some numbers, fans. 3 of last season's AP All-Americans were mid major transfers, with 60% of first and second team selection from high major schools having started at mid major levels. So let's talk about UAB, University of Alabama, Birmingham. 15. That's how many players jumped ship from Andy Kennedy's team that won 24 games and reached the American Conference Tournament Championship last year. 15 players left. So, yeah, you want to win, but it's going to be hard to sustain winning when you're changing that much. And Andy Dufresne of Shawshank Redemption, one of the greatest movies ever, said, get busy living or get busy dying. So former Duke star Nolan Smith is just trying to get players. So whatever you can do to get players, you're going to get players. So again, I'm going to start with you, Danny, because you're a little closer to this. When you see this and you hear this, what are your thoughts and reactions to the new, this is standard operating procedures now?
This hurts high school seniors. It's insane to me that we're getting to a point where there are players 25, 26, 27 years old, and they're in the transfer portal, and it's okay because they still have years of eligibility left. And coaches are going to nab these guys up. I don't understand it. It's turning into, in my mind, it's turning into NBA free agency at this point. Because if this player doesn't feel like they're getting what they feel like they deserve at this one school, they can leave and go to another one, and they just jump in the portal. Like you said, UAB had 15 guys jump in the portal after last season. I'll take it a step further. when Larinaga was coaching Miami, at the year they left to go to the Final Four, I think he said majority of his roster jumped in the portal. They were a Final Four team. That is mind-boggling to me. So everyone want to get on, and I hear the conversation all the time. Well, coaches leave and da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, coaches leave. But that's more of a business standpoint. It's almost like college basketball players are turning this into a business at this point. It's no longer about just going to play ball and showing you that I'm better than that guy. You should play me. And this is coming from someone who, when I was in college, I considered the transfer portal after was it my junior year? Like my red shirt. It was going to my red shirt junior year. And I was thinking about transfer. But I said, no, let me stay here. Because I feel like I can still do what I have to do here and make it to where we need to go. Now, I don't agree with this transfer portal stuff. I never had at this point because, again, it's just turned into the wild, wild west. Everyone jump in the portal. Just jump. You're going to go and get what you want because you feel like you deserve it instead of staying your ass where you are and earn it. That's just my mindset. And this is coming from, and again, I am 13 years removed from my last college basketball game. I don't regret staying there. But it's getting to the point now where coaches are looking into the portal now. They're not going to these high schools. They're not going to these all-star games. They're not going to these travel ball circuit games anymore.
They're not following you all around.
No, they're not following you around anymore. And I miss those days. God, coach, I should have. I still remember the visit too. So that's why I'm like, damn. But it's like, what do the high school players do now? Because it's almost like, do I even try and go to a major program? Because at this point, if I can go to a mid-major program, show out there, and then jump in the portal and have a bigger school pick me up, so be it. Yeah. So now high school players have to rethink, how am I going to go about recruiting at this point? How am I going about getting recruited at this point?
Okay, so Robert, bring some levity to this. We've had this conversation, and I will close. How are we feeling about this? And again, that number 15, that's what paused me. So between 40 states having high school NIL and 15 guys from a championship level team saying I'm good, what are you thinking, Robert?
I mean, there are a lot of different. I mean, let me start with this. So, obviously, I'm from Albuquerque. Follow New Mexico, the Lobos. They're the past 2 years, their first team All Mountain West player has gone somewhere else. 2 years ago was JT Toppin, went to Texas Tech, made first team Big 12, and then this past year was Donovan Dent, point guard. He went to UCLA. He will be, in the all Big Ten conversation because he's that good. He's a good player. And, I think the most important thing is that, if you are a mid-major program in this day and age, you need to be aware of all this, and you need to tell yourself, okay, what's my in? Where's the niche? Where am I going to find guys? Seems to me the best places to find guys are going to be junior college and those high-level high school kids, because it hurts the current transfer portal. It hurts high school kids in the sense that you may not have as many of those kids going to Power 5, Power 4, Big East schools as we did previously, but there are still places for them. If a kid wants to play, and if they can play, they're going to find a place to play. And it would not shock me at all if you have, for example, people at TCU or SMU start telling guys, hey, why don't you go over here to North Texas and we'll watch you? Why don't you go over here to East Texas A&M, which is in Commerce, which is hour and a half from the Metroplex, why don't you go, why don't you go over here to Incarnate Word and we'll watch you there. I mean, I could see that start happening. I could see coaches and you know how coaches are. They have these coaching trees, and I could see coaches leveraging those coaching trees and saying, "Okay, I'm going to start sending you these guys, and you work on filtering them back this way." I could see that happening. And do I like it? No, I don't. But I'm the old guy who's in the text chain telling everybody that I like the clean classic uniforms that everybody was wearing yesterday. We didn't have any of that monochromatic garbage or
Oh my
mirrored
gosh.
helmets and all that stuff, and and get off my lawn.
Get off my lawn. Okay. Two things. One, free market. And if the chemistry major has the right to move from school to school, everybody should be able to move. So, yeah, free market. Two, what is your end goal? If your end goal is to get a degree, then stop crying about where you can't go to school. I don't want to hear about where you can't go. Tell me where you can go. And then once you're in there, you still have opportunities. And it's one of the reasons why CKA is working diligently to develop a postgraduate academy, because kids are exhausting eligibility and they're not getting anything out of it. So I'm hearing all about what can't happen as opposed to what can happen. And it's about picking right. And I have Danny there, and we've been joking about this since he's been in high school, but Danny picked right. Now, he still would have had a nice career at Hood, but he picked right. Following picked right. When he went to George Mason, we got really, really nasty stuff on the internet about how his recruitment was mismanaged, but there was a plan and he executed his plan, not your plan. And that's what we're missing now. Folks don't really have a plan. They are, I want to go D1 or bust. Well, that's just kind of a bad way to look at it. So this is our pitch again. Hire CKA to help you walk through academically and athletically to see what it is you're trying to do, and then allow the resources to provide you that opportunity to put you in a better position to do whatever it is you want. Because when I hear about guys, and Danny, you could hear me screaming now, man, I'm getting slept on. No, we want to win. I'm a coach. I want to win every game. And who's going to help me win? This 18-year-old kid who's played a lot of bums and whose daddy coached the team, or this kid I watched almost beat me, and in the handshake line say, hey, we're going to keep an eye on you if you're in the portal, and what have you. So Danny, I'll allow you to wrap, and then I'll give Robert a chance to wrap before we close up. Any thoughts before we close this segment?
I mean, Coach, you brought up a good point. I mean, y'all are as you speak from a coach perspective, y'all in the business of winning. And if I have to go on the portal to get this guy to help my team win, so be it. It's part of the process. From a player's perspective, as someone who, when I was getting recruited, my mindset was this: it was D1 or nothing. And this is before my senior year. And then it wasn't until I think I had a conversation with you, Coach. It was during the summer down in St. Albans where I was like, you know what? I have an opportunity to still play college ball. And if it's not a Division I level school, I'm good with it. As long as I get to play, I'm okay. So if guys are, but that's the thing, guys are so worried about, I want to play. Yeah. But there's still no guarantee you're going to play when you jump in the portal anyway. There have been dudes who've been sitting in the portal forever. I think I heard a story where a dude sat in the portal for 2 years. 2 years, and he finally got recruited. And then when he goes to school, he still doesn't play. So what was the point? It doesn't make sense to me. So people have to be mindful of the portal from Jump Street when they jump in the first place, because there's no guarantee you're going to go to a school once you jump into the portal. So, I mean, that's just my 2 cents coming from a guy who, again, like I said, people ask me, am I going to jump in the portal after Coach Brown left? And I was like, no, I'm staying right here. And, I still enjoyed my time playing there. I still had a ball playing with the guys I played with for the 5 years I was there. It was a blast. So I just want players to be mindful before they jump into the portal. What is in it for me? What benefit is it for me to jump in the portal? Because again, you could be a player who gets recruited immediately, or you might be a player who's going to be sitting in that portal and you're going to have no choice but to stay where you are and use your last years of eligibility at the school where you are, and you need to prove a point. Y'all messed up not getting me in the portal in the first place. So I'm going to stay here and prove it to y'all why y'all should have grabbed me in the portal. But
Yeah.
I'm 35 going to 36. What do I know?
Robert, close us out with some levity, sir.
Well, and I mean, Danny makes a really good point, for these guys in that, if you have an opportunity to play, take it. Take the opportunity and play, because if you're playing, I mean, I know Danny did this. A friend of mine back in Albuquerque went to Western New Mexico, tiny little D2 school in Silver City, New Mexico, played 4 years there. And then he played, I don't know, 7, 8, 9, 10 years in Europe. I don't remember exactly where he played, but he came back when he finished his career. He came back and paid cash for a house, and he had a degree, and he had a plan. And if you're doing that, I mean, you can make a nice living for yourself if you choose to do so, playing basket and see the world.
Yes,
you can
indeed.
do that, and you don't have to go to a D1 school to do it.
No, you don't. All right, fans, in segment 3, we're going to get you ready for the WNBA playoffs. We have a lot of players returning from injury. We'll see their impact. We'll be right back on the Odd Coaches Podcast. Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Keith Adams, and for years, I've witnessed the struggles student athletes face on how to truly balance the demands of academics and athletics. It's a question that I have dedicated my life to answering. That's why I wrote Finding the Balance, my personal journey to academic and athletic success. It's more than just a book. It is my personal journey, and it is filled with hard-earned lessons from decades as a coach, educator, and now president of the CKA Safe Project. Inside, you will find practical advice, real-life stories, and a clear roadmap to help student athletes, coaches, and parents navigate the complex world of balancing sports and education. And now I am thrilled to bring this message to a wider audience as a proud member of the Cascade Sports Network. We're partnering to amplify these crucial conversations about student-athlete success. I believe every student-athlete deserves the opportunity to reach their full potential, both on and off the court and the field. You can purchase your copy directly from our website at www.ckasafeproject.org. Join me and the Cascade Sports Network as we work together to help every student-athlete succeed. Welcome back to the Odd Coaches Podcast in segment 3, WNBA news and notes. So, regular season ends September 11th. Playoffs begin September 14th. Top 8 teams make the playoffs. Here's who we're looking at. We're looking at Minnesota, Atlanta, Las Vegas, Phoenix, New York, Indiana, Seattle, and Golden State. And on the outside looking in, we still got the Sparks, and I think the Mystics might be done. Chicago's eliminated, Dallas is eliminated, and Connecticut's eliminated. But the 2025 WNBA season is like the season of injuries. Impact of injuries have just gone crazy. So according to data, 117 players have missed a combined 868 games so far, and it includes some of the highest profile players. So Danny, I'm going to start with you. Out of the playoff contenders, postseason hopefuls, if you will, what return from injury or injury itself do you think is going to have the biggest impact as we head into the postseason?
Caitlin Clark. And you can end the conversation right there. I mean, when she was playing, Indiana was a top 3 seed in the league. And the minute she goes down, they dropped all the way to sixth place in the standings, to the point where we were thinking they might not even make the playoffs. So, from a player perspective, if I'm Caitlin, I know she's going to want to play. Let's throw that out there. She's going to want to play. This is a chance for her to get a championship. This is a chance for her to lead the group that she started with. Let's see what happens. As a front office mindset, shut her down. Do not play her another game for the rest of the season unless you know for certain we have a good enough chance to win a championship this year. End of story. She's the first person that came to mind. The second player that came to mind, and it is actually a 2-player answer. What does New York do with Stewie and Jonquel Jones? Both of them missed significant time during the season with injury, especially Stewie late in the season, because you saw how much they dropped off. They were in second place, and now they dropped all the way to 5th in the standings because we're seeing how the Aces are playing. We see how Atlanta is playing. And I was watching Minnesota last night. Unless someone is coming out of nowhere and telling me they're going to beat them with Napheesa Collier coming off her injury and playing like the MVP that she's been all season, what does New York do with Stewie and Jonquel Jones? Because they still got to come back and try to provide a spark to get New York back to the championship. Because, again, there are 2 players who have a lot of miles on their legs. And then you're coming off of 2 significant injuries where we're still seeing that, at least from Jonquel's standpoint, her injury is still slowing her down a little bit. So I'm wondering how she's going to play once the playoffs start. But those are the 3 players that came to my mind, and I'm still on the Caitlin Clark. If I'm a player, I'm playing. If I'm in the front office, I'm telling her, sit your behind down and we'll wait till next season, because this season is a wash almost if we don't have a shot to win a championship this year.
Robert, what do you think, man? Is there any particular injury, return or not return, that has caught your attention headed into the postseason?
Well, I agree with Danny as far as Caitlin Clark. That's enough. Because what you have this year is this. You have Minnesota, and then you have everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else. The 2 through 9 are all within about 5 games of each other. So whoever comes out to play the Lynx in the final, it's really going to depend on matchups, and it's going to depend on whose injuries have, who has recovered from their injuries the best, or more likely, whose injuries are lingering the least. If Asia Wilson's injury is lingering the least, it's going to be the Lynx and the Stars. I mean, Lynx and the Aces. Okay. If Stewie recovers, Jonquel Jones recover, could they knock? I mean, right now they're sitting 5th. Could they knock off the Lynx? Probably not. Right. So does that factor into your decision making? I think it does, but we're just dudes on a podcast, so I don't know.
All right, closing us out, sneaking in. George, is LA going to be a contender with this, because your favorite player's there and they're playing better, and Cameron Brink's now healthy because she didn't play last season. Can the Sparks jump into this?
Anybody can jump in, but it doesn't matter. Like everybody said, Minnesota is like head and shoulders above everybody right now. I think that trade, the Plum trade, just killed the Aces, because it took them forever to recover, because they fell off from the time the season started. So now they finally found something that starts working. New York's been beat up all year, and it isn't. I agree with everybody else. There's no significant. I don't know if there's anybody coming back off an injury right now that's going to change anything. I don't think Minnesota can be beat in a series. I don't think anybody has enough to do it. So we'll see. But the Lynx are hot, and they're going to continue to be that way. So.
All right. So, fans, as we wrap up, We appreciate our Cavalcade of Stars being here. I'm Dr. Keith Adams saying thank you for listening and or watching the Odd Coaches podcast, also seen on the Cascade Sports Network. And we will see you on the sidelines. Until next time, take care.
The Odd Coaches podcast is sponsored by the CKA Save Project. The CKA Save Project is an industry leader in providing student-athlete academic and athletic support. From assessing student-athletes' academic and athletic skills, to measuring and monitoring student-athlete academic progress, to improving student-athlete time management and organizational skills, the CKA Save Project provides wraparound services for student-athletes from middle school through college. For more information, visit us on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org or schedule a free consultation with Dr. Keith Adams by emailing cka@ckasaveproject.org. We hope you enjoyed today's show. The Odd Coaches podcast drops new episodes every Tuesday through Friday on most weeks. Make sure you subscribe to the Odd Coaches podcast on Apple Music, iHeartRadio, Podbean, Spotify, and YouTube. Follow the Odd Coaches podcast on Twitter and Instagram at Odd Coaches. Follow Dr. Adams on Twitter and Instagram at CKA Save Project. In addition, follow Coach Mike Francis on Twitter and Instagram at Coach Franchise, spelled Coach Franchize. For more information about the CKA Save Project, please visit them on the web at www.ckasaveproject.org. See you next time on the Odd Coaches podcast.